Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to Talk4, the quick-fire podcast where we ask four great questions to unique and interesting people. Behind the mic today on Talk4 is your host, Skupien, that's me, and our special guest for today, Mark Hadlow, who will be answering our questions today. Mark, please introduce yourself and give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you do before I shoot some questions.
Hello, my name's Mark Hadlow. I'm an actor, and I was probably most recognized for being Dori the Dwarf in the Hobbit trilogy, Peter Jackson's wonderful three films about the adventures of the dwarves and in the Hobbit, and what an experience that was. Also, I'm a huge theatre actor. Also a television, a film. Yeah, just love acting. Have been doing it for 44 years, and yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. Wonderful to be on the show.
That's brilliant. And I tell you what, I've seen your face countless times on the TV screen and stuff, and I absolutely love The Hobbit. So I tell you what, I had Stephen Hunter on recently and John Callan and stuff too. So it's so cool to have all the dwarves coming on the podcast and everything. You're all such cool people. Thank you for making time for it.
No problem at all, Louis. And
Brilliant.
by the way, I love the name Louis. I think
Thank
it's a
you.
great name.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it. You know
great
what?
name.
Just for the guys who don't know, Mark was very kind and sent me a happy birthday video for my birthday on the 15th. And surprisingly, Mark got my name Louis correct the first time. Everyone makes a mistake and calls me Lewis. So I don't know how you did it, Mark, but you're breaking the records here.
I think because one of my great uncles was a Louis.
Mm.
Yeah, and my great uncles, and he fought in actually the First World War. I
Wow.
think. Yeah, amazing. I know, frightening, isn't it? When you
It
think
sure
about it.
is. Yeah, I
God,
tell you what. Well, Mark, I tell you what, I'm super keen to ask you a few questions about everything that you've done and you're going to be doing. So, how about we roll into question number one?
roll away, Louis.
Sounds good. So, for question one, tell me a bit about your past. How did you get into acting? What inspired you to start, and how did it progress from there to the roles and castings you have landed?
Look, to be honest, this all started, I think, because my dad was a vicar. And I was born in Australia originally. And at the age of about three, I started to really sort of see that dad was up in the pulpit and doing what he did in church services. And I thought, oh, he's in front of people. And I think I started to enjoy the idea that entertaining people was quite good, even if it was as a vicar. So
Mm.
when I got to about, I think I was about four, I had a little surplice and a cassock made for me, and I put that on, and I started to be dad's server up in the sanctuary. And and I remember being told off by dad one day when I started sort of performing, doing things that I shouldn't be doing in a church service as a server. And I think that's where it all started. So basically, I blame my dear dad and my mother for not actually rebuking me, but they were fabulous. And my sister gave me communion wine and wafers at the age of two, very early on. So it was all destined to be a complete and utter hilarious discovery of performing and acting that then continued right through. And I had my first public performance was at 11, and I did a radio play that a couple of Canadian comedians had done called Wayne and Schuster, The Rinse the Blood Off My Toga, which was an extraordinary piece of radio. My name is Flavius Maximus. I'm a private Roman I. My number card is IV1147665553. Comes in handy as an eye chart. Anyway, it was all like that. It went through for about 10 minutes. Anyway, that was the
Wow.
first time I had about 100 people looking at me and laughing, and I was playing all the characters. So I think that's basically where I was bitten, and
Yeah.
then continued right through. And at school, I only ended up playing spear carriers, fourth from the right, or heralds, or very small non-speaking roles. And then left there, joined the Navy, where I became a fantastic tea maker. I could make tea for everybody in a huge pot.
Even
Still do.
Gandalf.
Yeah, even yes, absolutely. Even if it is peppermint tea, and then I suddenly thought, no, this is definitely not what I want to do, and went to drama school at the age of 20, and came out from theatre corporate, and the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'll tell you what, Yeah, interesting about the Navy actually, because I was watching on YouTube the other day, some of the behind the scenes and stuff from The Hobbit, which we'll get
Oh,
into in a bit, and they were all saying about, how you like to wear the outfits and stuff on the set and
I don't
everything too. Tell me
like
about
to
that.
wear the outfit. No, I don't like to wear the outfit. Of course, this is insecurity and inferiority complexes by other people,
Right.
that they can't cope with the fact that someone is actually in the Navy, they do another job, and that when they get called up pretty quickly to come in and do an interview or a behind the scenes thing, they have to come from their job. My
Mm.
job, unfortunately, at the time involved me wearing my lieutenant commander's uniform in the Royal New Zealand Naval Reserve, which makes me very proud to be in the Royal New Zealand Navy.
As you should be.
But of course, chaps like, especially, the guys that make fun of you, I don't have to go on about it. You've seen the back
Sure.
behind the scenes. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm very proud of my involvement with the Navy. I was responsible for a lot of the creativity in the 75th anniversary of the Navy in 2016, and that was really exciting. I was also MC of the 10th anniversary of the Christchurch earthquake, and I
Mm.
MC'd that as a naval lieutenant, and that was a very, very good. A good remembrance of the 182 people, I believe, that were killed in the
Mm.
earthquake. So, yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty important to me, that, because it's not about acting, it's not about performing, it's about actually doing something that I think is relevant, and I guess my contribution to our community. There we go.
Mm.
Boom.
There it is. No, that's a beautiful thing. And going on from what you were saying about your career and everything, obviously one of your biggest, performances was obviously in The Hobbit. So for my second question, I did want to ask, how did you get casted for the role and what was the whole experience like making this trilogy?
I mean, the boys have told you already. I mean, Stephen and John would have waxed lyrical about the amazing experience that it was, and
They
the
sure
group
did.
of chaps that we all were. I mean, we were like a little, we were like bad boarding school boys. It was terrible. Led by Peter Jackson, who was the worst offender for jokes and all manner of bad behaviour on set. Graham McTavish obviously was the worst. And luckily, I had my chums around me, Jed Brophy and Adam Brown, and John Callan. But there was the other group too. The conspirators, who were the Stephen Hunters and the Jimmy Nesbitts, and of course the worst one, Martin Freeman. Oh my God, he was so naughty. He was a bad boy on set. He just what a wonderful actor though. Oh my God, such a gifted actor. His
Really?
choices of what he did as Bilbo Baggins were just absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah,
Um,
no. Sure sounds like it. But yeah, I've seen the
it was a
clips.
fantastic experience. The audition process was pretty amazing. I had 4 callbacks,
Right.
and the best story was when I'd done the last callback, and they said that I had the role. We couldn't tell anyone because it wasn't all sorted yet. And I
Mm.
walked into Wellington Airport, and I was walking down the concourse, and Jed Brophy was coming up the other way, and we both looked at each other, and we smiled and broke into laughter and gave each other a big hug because we both knew that we got in. Yeah, it was a great moment. It was a great moment, and I was very lucky. I was surrounded by this amazing talent. And to here we were, 7 Kiwis that were sloshing and jocularly, having fun with some of the great actors of the world.
I can
Serena
tell.
McKellen. What a doyen, not only just in film but of theatre.
Mm.
All of them just great actors, and Richard Armitage was born to be a leader, for God's sake. I mean, we would follow him over the top of the trenches and go everywhere. It was an extraordinary experience, actually. It really was, of reliving camaraderie as boys at school, and into it was a great feeling. We all got on very well, and everyone made fun of everybody, and we had a lot of parties and a lot of good times,
Mm.
and everyone was there for everyone, which was really great. And of course, Aidan Turner, he was the he had the least amount of prosthetics and makeup, and he would swan in to get his makeup and done in the morning. It would take 5 minutes, whereas most of us took 3 hours. Poor old Stephen Hunter took the longest because he had a huge amount of prosthetic and hair, and the same with Peter Hamilton, you know, and then he, at the end of filming, at the end of the day, Aidan would rush over to his trailer, take his costume off and gone within 3 minutes, whereas all of us had at least 45 to an hour to get our prosthetics off, our costumes off, our hair off, and of course, just, you know, I mean, luck of the Irish. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, tell you what, I wouldn't want to be Stephen Hunter at the end of a long, sweaty day of filming in that, you know, enormous
he never
thing.
complained, but he never complained. Stephen is one of those chaps that just, you know, just gets on with it, doesn't complain. And no one complained, actually. We were all amazing. Everyone knew that we were there for the long haul, and we had a job to do, and it was exhausting. I mean, and everyone encouraged everybody else. It was a very good environment to be in, to produce your work. And we were there to lend our support to, you know, the guys that had the hard stuff to do, you know, all the lines and all the story, you know, to help paint the picture of the story. And that was really important, that we were there. You know, we knew what our job was, and we did our best to support, you know, to be a part of the team. And I think that was what was important. And that's something that when you bring something to a role, realizing what your input will be, and not trying to do, you know, put yourself out there to be more than what that was. And everybody sort of understood that, and that was lovely. And so relatively there were few problems at all. It was great. Yeah,
that's brilliant.
A once in a lifetime experience, I think.
For sure. Well, leading on from that, actually, obviously you're going into kind of the newer generation of actors and stuff as well. I know you said a little bit about this before we started recording, but for question 3, what advice do you have for young aspiring actors who want to get into the acting space? Do you have any tips, or are there any mistakes you made along the way that people should watch out for early on?
I don't know whether I made any mistakes, because everything is a learning experience. Everything that you do, I mean, you can't live by regrets. You can only live by what you choose, and the choices that you make are very important. Those things you have to really think about, how you do it and why you make that choice. I would say it's harder now than ever for people to become successful in the business, just purely because of our crunching of numbers, and budgets have got smaller, theatres have got smaller, theatres have closed down. COVID has not helped the industry at all, you know, which is terrible. I mean, I came from an era where you learned by experience. I came out of drama school and went straight into a professional theatre company. And that was my learning ground. That was where I learned so much from all these other actors around me who had been in it for 5, 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 years. And I was watching them and learning from them. That is harder now, because we have less of that three-dimensional one-on-one experiencing, watching people on stage. Now everything's done on a computer screen. The three-dimensional disappears. You have two-dimensional. No matter how you look at it, you cannot replace what you feel on a stage. No matter what you feel in the film, yes, you may be able to be in the film, you're with other people and you're working with them in that three-dimensional capacity, but what people look at will always be two-dimensional. And it's not the same. If you are considering being a very good actor, and sometimes people fluke it and they get some role that launches them into immediate stardom, 15 minutes of fame, good on them, well done. But for those of us who like to know more about the craft, know more about the ability to be able to act, to get as much experience with live theatre as possible. So yeah, go to your local amateur theatre company, go to your repertory company, do auditions, learn how to develop your stagecraft? Do you reach the back wall with your voice? Are you able to maneuver yourself into a situation whereby it's natural, it looks natural on stage? I mean, this is what drama school should be teaching, the techniques of stage acting, because it all helps. Yes, film, television, you reduce the reactions. Yes, that is the way it is, but it doesn't change the process. And the process is truth, and communication, and listening and receiving and responding. That's what it's all about. And if you've got that ability, and you've got some talent, and you're funny, and you're able to enjoy what you do, enjoyment is a part of it as well. If you're just doing it because I'm a really good actor, and there's no enjoyment from it, I would suggest it'll be the hardest road to hoe. But if you enjoy it, I love the feeling of entertaining. When you're standing on I do a one-man show called Middle-Aged Man in Lycra, which is just me and 9 other characters. And when that's in full gallop, there is nothing better than the audience just being connecting with you, and you are both connected, and you're both supporting each other. There's 400 or 600 people who are on your side, and you're on their side, and you're just all one. And it's the best feeling in the world, better than anything I've ever done. It's that feeling of total trust of your audience, and the audience trusting the actor that they're giving them what they want. And money for value for money, I guess.
Definitely.
And that's about our society. That's about communication, and that's what's really good. People are off their devices for 2 hours, and there's talking, and it's like being in someone else's lounge room. There's 400 people in a lounge room, and they don't know the people they're beside, but for some reason they're all joined and they're all focused on something, and it's in their face. It's three-dimensional. It's there. It's happening. They're feeling it. They're seeing it. They're hearing it. And in some cases, they're even sort of, breathing it. That is the essence of acting, and that's what I love. Yeah, love it.
That is so deep. And
I hope so.
I tell you what, Mark, just in response to what you said there, actually, I'm a tennis player, and I have been for many years. And one of the best bits of advice I've received from one of the most prestigious coaches in the world was that you can't skip a level. And I feel like that really resonated with me, what you said there about how, you can't, some people, they get lucky, they go straight to some big role or something, but you can't really skip through the process, can you? It's got to be one way at a time, one thing. And if you skip a level, you've got to go back, and you've got to retrace your steps a bit as well. And I've always found that with pretty much anything, if you want to be really good at it and a true master of the craft, you have to go from the dirt bit, and you have to just work your way up that ladder, don't you?
Spot on, Louis. I guess it's like Everest, isn't it? It's like Mount Everest. You can't just suddenly be on the peak of Everest without going through the hard yards.
Exactly, yeah.
And the hard yards, too, are about being able to cope with criticism, being able to cope with bad critiques, or you know what I mean? Those things that people throw at you because they're jealous, or because they can't understand what you're meaning, or there's some really interesting life lessons in the sludge that we go through to get to be proficient at what we do. And yes, talent has an awful lot to do with it, Louis. Some people are born with it, and they have this natural ability to entertain, and they are so good at it. And they can utilize that and so brilliantly, and they understand what their craft or what their specific talents are. But for those of us who just want to really feel what we're doing and give what we give from our perspective, that's through a learning, but that's through a learning curve, and that career orientation that takes you up the chain. And that's what's hard at the moment. I think it's really hard to get a career development, especially in theatre, especially because it's so hard to get a theatre to employ a younger actor, or you can't just employ anybody. They've got to have this experience so that you're not so that you can come in at, at a middle entry as opposed to new entry. And that's what we should be really working on, to really embrace the fact that we need to get these younger people, we need to get people who really want to succeed in our business in whatever genre it is, but encourage them by supporting them financially, by grants, by government support, whatever, however, sponsorship, partnerships, all this sort of thing. This is about it, because then we maintain our profession. It's about storytelling. Hundreds and hundreds of years of storytelling is the history of where we have reached in our entertainment perspective. We're going to lose that, especially in the theatre, if we don't look after it and encourage it and develop it as part of our social interaction, part of our community, part of who we are. And that's very important, very important.
Mark, for our fourth and final question today, just a bit more about you. Lastly, what for you was your absolute favourite or top 3 favourite moments throughout your whole acting career? Was there a particular event, award, or scene that was just truly stand out for you?
There was when I did Mammal, Middle-Aged Man in Lycra. There was one show in particular, and I can't remember where it was. I think it was in Christchurch at the Court Theatre. And for some reason, oh my God, someone was, at the start of the show, was on their phone. It was a woman. She was on her phone and she was talking to this person on the phone. This was about 5 minutes into the show. And I could hear this talking and I thought, okay, well, this isn't good. Anyway, so I said, I stopped the show. I mean, because that's the good thing about a one-man show. If something's going wrong, you can stop the show. And I said, is there a problem? Is someone talking on the phone? And this one said, I could see this woman talking on the phone. I said, is everything okay? Has something bad happened? She said, no, I'm just on the effing phone. So just, get on, do what you do. And I went, I'm sorry, pardon? And then I actually said, no, look, do you really want to go there? Because I would like you now to get off your phone and leave the theatre, make your phone call, and then come back. And then she swore at me and said, oh, what? I said, so she was asked to leave. Anyway, she went. Anyway, and then that was like, and that show then, from that point, was one of the best shows I've ever done. The laughs, the communication, the understanding between actor, audience, actor was amazing. The other one, and in Mammal again, was in Palmerston North. I was in the middle of the show and I could see in the front row that a woman was not well and she was slumped in her seat. And I thought, because this is happening while you're talking, so you're thinking, okay, what's happening here? Someone's not in actually a very good position. They could be medically having a problem. So I stopped the show, jumped down off the set, which is 1.2 meters off the ground, went to her and said, are you all right? And she looked terrible. We stopped the show, called an ambulance, and everyone went out onto the street. And then they were waiting out on the street. So it was an audience of about 150. And I entertained them out on the street while the ambulance people came. They made her feel better. She had obviously, she just got she just fainted and was really not well, had I guess what you could call a turn. And we all went in and picked up the show from where exactly we started, and we finished the show. Amazing. But those are individual things. Probably one of the best experiences with a team of actors in a show was a play called When the Rain Stops Falling by Andrew Bavell, an Australian writer. And I was working with one of the best casts I've ever worked with, and it was like friends like Lara McGregor, Von Martin, I can't even remember everyone off, Jude Gibson, off the top of my head, Cameron. Anyway, there's a moment in the play when where everybody's doing their thing, and I could feel that something was happening with all of the 8 actors. Just everybody was feeding into each other, and you could hear a pin drop in the audience. There was stunned silence. And at that moment, I thought, wow, This is about the power. Not that you could think about it because you're in the play. You can't necessarily come out of it to think about, oh, look at us, look at us, look at us. But just very consciously became aware of how quiet, how incredibly fragile the relationship is, but spellbinding. Wow. That is the power of theatre. Unbelievable. Greatest moment.
Tell you what, Mark, I just want to say that obviously for myself, I'm thinking this right now, and I'm sure that everyone else who's listening is thinking this too. But from those first two stories, specifically that second one, for me, that is just a true testimony to just someone who is just a great person. And you know what? I'm so happy to have you on the podcast right now. But you know what? You get the feel for people. You really do. You hear the vibes, and I'm certain that there's a lot of actors out there who I could have asked that same question to, and they would have, gone on about some scene that was just fun and stuff. But I just love the fact that your best memories, at least two of them, involve you helping someone else or connecting with your audience, and that just shows you as a really selfless person. And I have a lot of admiration for you. You're an awesome guy.
Thank you, Louis. What a lovely thing to say, and I really appreciate it. And you know what? I really like talking about this business. It's a good business, and despite all the sensationalism and all the bollocks that happens out there, 99.9% of the people that work in this business are about the commitment to something that is bigger than one person. It's amazing. Oh, it's an amazing profession. I'm so fortunate and very lucky, and I'm surrounded by people that support me. My wife, my children, my family, and my friends and my colleagues. I couldn't do it without them. It's a big commitment.
Excellent.
Always about other people too.
I can tell. No, it's great to have those kind of people around you. But Mark, that is our 4 questions done for today. And before we wrap it up, it is time for the shameless plug. So Mark, feel free to take a minute and promote anything that you're working on, you want people to take a look at, just something that you believe in.
Look, thank you, Louis. Look, A Middle-Aged Man in Lycra, the one-man show, that could be coming out to tour or on soon. Middle-Aged Man in Lycra. It's a one-man show, but it is sensational. It's all about men on bikes in Lycra, and it's 9 characters, 1 actor, 1 bike, a really grumpy Italian bike called Pinarello, and who sings, and it's a fascinating show about men's health, men's lack of ability to be able to talk about their problems and stuff like that. But it's a great show. If you get the chance and it's out there, please have a look. I'd love you to.
I'll be having a look at that, Mark. Anyway, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today for the Talk4 podcast. It has been a pleasure having you on, and thank you for your time.
No problem. Listen, and happy birthday for the 15th. I know my wife had a beautiful day on the 15th, so I hope you did too.
I sure did. No, thank you so much. Yeah, your video made my day.
Take care, Louis.
Yeah,
love you to talk. Bye-bye.
It's been a pleasure. Right. Thank you guys for listening. See you in the next episode, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Signing off for now.